I can't believe I have to make this video. With time comes change, and almost everything has a start, middle and end, and that end may be nigh for the VW Polo. And I'm not talking about my VW Polo specifically, I mean the Polo generally. With all these new cars arriving within the VW group, are we seeing the end of the VW Polo? Well, it's looking very likely, and in this video I'll tell you why. But before I do, a quick reminder, do hit like if you enjoy this kind of content, subscribe as well if you want to see 2 videos every single week. Without further ado, let's get into the video. If you want to see a full history of the Polo, make sure you watch my video going through exactly that, but very quickly a refresher for you. It came as a spin-off from the Audi 50 as a cheaper and more cheerful version, and it grew in popularity rapidly through its early years as the younger sibling to the hugely popular VW Golf. It grew through multiple generations, maintaining its position in the market as a cheap entry point into driving for multiple people and the perfect city runaround that can also handle longer journeys. It's for that reason that in 2021 it was the third most popular car in the UK, and in 2020 1 in every 7 VWs bought here in the UK was a Polo, with over 18 million sold since the car dropped back in 1975. It appeals to the younger generation as a first car, or for students as a runaround, myself included when I was at uni, and even as a small family car for running errands in. It is literally a car for everyone, and it can deal with a lot of abuse. It has always competed well against other highly popular and also disappearing super minis like the Ford Fiesta, and I think the Polo's demise is somewhat similar to that of the Fiesta, but we'll get onto that in a second. I keep hearing one thing from the articles I've read, that it's simply too expensive and too hard to electrify the Polo, which limits its future usability. These are the words not only about the Polo but the beloved Golf as well that we heard from VW boss Thomas Schaefer, who noted that the new Euro 7 regulations that require internal combustion engined cars to treat the air pollution they create would mean that cheaper cars like the Polo and Golf would have to increase their price by 3,000 to 5,000 euros. He said, with a small car these additional costs can hardly be absorbed, so entry-level mobility with combustion engines will become significantly more expensive. Starting prices at 10,000 euros will no longer exist in the future. Individual mobility is a basic need and must remain achievable in the future. We will have to see whether it is worth developing a new vehicle that does not last the full 7 or 8 years. VW are currently working on an update series to the Mark 8 Golf and are not certain yet whether there will be a Mark 9. And though they've committed to making internal combustion engined cars for the coming few years, the Polo has not been included in the list of those cars, which cover the Golf, T-Roc, Tiguan, Passat and Tayron. The implications therefore are that the Polo may go the way of the Fiesta and disappear from our existing set of cars forever. However, Schaefer did say that electrification of cars is the best route to maintain cheaper access to cars in the future for people, hence VW will continue to create cheap cars through the ID line of cars. So you may already know about the ID 3, 4 and 5, which have their own segments in the market, and VW has teased an ID 2 mini SUV, with the ID 1 potentially being a cheap city car replacement for the Polo, at least based on the standard sketches. But then the question has to be asked, why wouldn't VW just make these new electric cars under the names that people have held dear for so many years? The ID1 could be the Polo, the ID3 could be the Golf, etc, etc, etc. Is it the case that by starting their electrification journey alongside the cars that they've already produced, they feel precluded from rebadging the new electric cars? I mean, think about Porsche for example. When they bring about the electric 911, which they've suggested will arrive in 2030, from what I know they're not getting rid of the 911 name tag. It will just be the new 911 with an electric motor. I would argue that the Golf is at least as, if not more, certified as a household name than the 911, and with that comes a lot of power. It was the most sold car in Europe last year to kind of prove that point, so is VW expecting the ID3 to be the new most sold car in Europe, following in the footsteps of the Golf? I'm absolutely not saying that this can't happen, but I do think the shortest route to sell success for an electric Polo or Golf would be to make a car that looks somewhat similar to a more modern and crazy Polo or Golf, give it an electric motor, give it a Polo or Golf badge and send it on its way, but maybe I'm oversimplifying. And I am. The problem for Polo goes much deeper than just electrification, and that's the reason why VW have committed to continue making the Golf with an internal combustion engine for the next few years at least, while the Polo hasn't yet received that same commitment. It's the same problem that the Fiesta faced and why it is being discontinued. Cars are getting bigger. This has been a pretty consistent theme in a lot of my recent car documentaries, so I won't bang on about it, but as we're caring more and more about having larger cars in general, the smaller cars are either having to get bigger or they're being replaced by bigger entries. What is the Fiesta being replaced with? Well, nothing really. Instead, the Puma SUV, which already provides internal competition, will be the main smaller offering, and it's literally a mini SUV which inherently isn't particularly small. Please note that on the list of cars that VW is committed to continue to build, the T-Roc was also there, which is VW's subcompact SUV contender to the Puma SUV. Though it sits on the same platform as the Golf, it is VW's small car for the era of big cars, an era in which the VW Polo has little to no relevance and may fade into non-existence. Where VW currently have the Up, Polo and Golf in the smaller car classes, as the need for smaller cars decreases, the need for VW to have that many offerings also decreases, so the amalgam of at least the Up and Polo into the ID1 is simply the most efficient option. I'm speculating, but that's what's happened with the Fiesta, which went from being on the top 10 sales list in the UK from 1977 all the way to 2020 to failing to be on that list in 2021 and doesn't feature this year either. That means as much as we may like cheap small runaround cars, we aren't talking with our wallets, and that's what companies like Ford and VW ultimately care about, because it's our wallets that will satisfy shareholders, not our love for the Polo or Fiesta. It's a harsh truth, but a truth nonetheless, and I probably will be making a video on the death of the Super Mini in the not too distant future, so make sure you're subscribed for that. So if it's confirmed that the Polo will end production in the next couple of years, don't be surprised. Instead, think about all the happy memories the Polo has brought us since 1975 and the great fun, practicality and price it's offered drivers both young and old to give us all the opportunity to get from A to B in a plucky little daily driver that can punch well above its weight. I for one love my Polo 9N and will continue to own and drive it for the foreseeable future, so it's a shame to see the badge go, but as I said at the start of this video, with time comes change, and this is just another change along the way. Huge thanks as ever to the patrons for making this possible. If you enjoyed the video, do hit like to support me for free, and subscribe as well if you're up for 2 videos every single week. It would now however be rude of you not to check out this video on the history of the VW Polo, so you get a bit more context on why it's a little sad that this car might disappear forever.